Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the story about Naruto. What if Naruto was descendant of dragon? Part 7. Hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, please do support for more awesome content and also hit the subscribe button and share this video with your friends and also support the creator of this fanfic. I have created many playlists, check it out in the channel. So let's start the video. Along a road, Naruto continued to be silent as he thought about what he had witnessed now less than half a day ago, having seen the man that Sasuke wanted dead, knowing that it was Sasuke's own brother. They had left Guy in charge to take Sasuke back for treatment in Konoha. Guy had also filled Naruto in with the details of what had happened to Kakashi. That made Jiraiya comment that they should do what they could to bring Tsunade with them in order for her to heal both Kakashi and Sasuke. That was enough for him to push on with what they needed to do. However, as they walked towards the next destination, he couldn't help but feel that those men were not going to give up. Pervy Sage. Jiraiya turned and was about to snap at Naruto for calling him that name again, but that stopped when he saw the deep look in the young man's face. What is Naruto? I was thinking about those two, that Itachi and the shark-faced, as swordsmen. They are the Kyuubi, aren't they? Jiraiya nodded at that, as he had found out about the organization Itachi and the one known as Kisame worked for. The organization known as Akatsuki were very much a band of renegade ninja who did mercenary work and had no ties to any villages, even their former villages. However, the ninja that formed Akatsuki were not a band of ninja rookies or semi-veterans trying to earn a simple payment of Ryo. The ninja that formed Akatsuki were all S-rank ninja, the most skilled and the most dangerous ninja today. It was known that Orochimaru was once part of the group, and obviously Itachi was, as well as Kisame. But he also knew that the group expressed great interest in the Bijuu and their containers, the Jinchuriki. And with Naruto being one of them, he couldn't blame Naruto for not liking the news. You're right about that. The group Itachi and Kisame work for is called Akatsuki. They are a band of ninja who are all missing nin from their own villages. And they are not Genin or Chuunin rank either. They are Jonin or higher and are considered S-rank ninja, too dangerous for normal people to fight. But why the heck are they after the Kyuubi? To be honest, I have no idea. It confuses me why they would want to have the Kyuubi in their possession, but I can bet that it is not going to be something that anyone here today will like in the least, and since all of them are S-ranked ninja, you can guess that their plans with the Kyuubi's power will not be good for everyone involved. Naruto had to agree with that, and, as he thought about it, he knew that if what the pervy sage said was true, then there was no doubt he would be facing the two again, or worse yet, the rest of Akatsuki, while he was able to take on the two of them. He was doubtful that he could win against so many. But he was also able to know that he could use the Kyuubi's chakra as well for defending himself, and there was no doubt in his mind that with his newfound Kekkai Genkai, he could stand up to them as soon as he developed the strength, both physically and mentally, to use his powers well. He was not happy with being the one containing the Kyuubi, but he was not going to let some criminals with dark intentions take it from him and use it on the world. I won't let them have it, pervy sage. I might dislike the Kyuubi and even hate it, but I will not let it be used by others as a weapon. Jiraiya looked at Naruto, and he could see that Naruto was dead set on the matter. He smiled at that and decided to make sure that he would teach Naruto as much as he could manage, and he knew just that would suit Naruto well enough. Good, anyhow, as soon as we get to town we can rest for a bit and then we can get down to the training bit. I did promise you that I would be teaching you well, and I keep my promises, Naruto, so perk up and let's get moving. That was more than enough to perk Naruto right up, and he grinned as they headed off to get to the town. Besides that, he had the urge to have some ramen to eat. He had not been able to pack some extra food supplies for the trip, and therefore he was eager to have some good food to eat as well. As they made their way to the area where the next town would soon be before them, Jiraiya wondered how well Naruto would be able to learn the technique that he was about to teach him. This was something he was going to be looking forward to. In a hidden location. Itachi, you seem to be rather early. Itachi nodded a bit as he and Kisame met with the other members of Akatsuki. However, the other ninja who formed the group of Akatsuki were not really there before the pair, rather these was the images of the other members. The ninjas who formed the group of Akatsuki were a very secretive bunch and preferred to only gather together physically when the need was great enough for that. The slayer of the Uchiha clan and his partner were in position, and then Itachi spoke. I apologize for that, we ran into complications. Complications? You and Kisame were sent out to capture the Jinchuriki who possess the Kyuubi due to the power of your Sharingan. That is correct, however. Cut the chatter, Itachi. You don't have your target with you after all. You failed, didn't you? One of the images spoke in a very hostile tone towards the Uchiha. Itachi however ignored it, and the apparent leader of Akatsuki spoke to the one in question. Deidara, lower your tone and hold your tongue. Now then, Itachi, what happened in your mission? We ran into Jiraiya-san, who was accompanying the Jinchuriki, Naruto Uzumaki. We managed to move him away from Naruto, but apparently the young Jinchuriki was able to stand up to both of us. Why didn't you use your Sharingan against him then, Itachi? Itachi thought over what he saw back there when he was fighting with Naruto, the eyes that he had before him, and, as he wondered just where the blonde genin had gained his powers, he spoke of the battle where he and Kisame had to put all their effort into fighting Naruto, who was more than able to hold his own against the two of them. As soon as he finished, the other members of Akatsuki were deep in thought, while the one named Deidara spoke in the same hostile tone. So the great Sharingan was outdone, eh? I guess you Uchiha aren't as good as you claim. Itachi then replied. That is because he too wielded a Kekkai Genkai, but unlike anything I have seen before, it was able to allow him to keep up with my movements, as well as even copy that my clan uses in a daily basis. What is more, it allows him to see beyond physical objects, as well as see into a person's body to see the chakra pathways. I believe his Kekkai Genkai is a combination of my clan's Sharingan and the Hyuga clan's Byakugan. The leader spoke. Really? This doesn't seem to match up with what we have gathered about this Naruto. We will have to avoid him for now and observe him, see if there are any details that can help us solve this mystery. Therefore, he will not be taken yet until we ascertain the reasons for him having this kind of power. Itachi nodded at that, and so did Kisame. They decided to consider to keep Naruto under surveillance for the time being to figure out just where the blonde genin of Konoha gained such powers. There was a chance that the Kyuubi had given the blonde that kind of power, but Itachi doubted it. There was something else going on here, and until they were able to get the right information to make sense of Naruto's sudden powers, attacking him was off limits to everyone. It was then that he thought about Sasuke. He wondered if this could work to make Sasuke push himself even further to finally have the power needed for his own plans. He needed to be in order for him to fulfill the role that he wanted his brother to take. For now, all he could do was wait and observe, but if he had to, he would be more than ready to remind his brother just what his goal was for getting stronger. In the town. As soon as Naruto and Jiraiya arrived in the town, they were quick to find that there was festival going on. And, as soon as Naruto saw it, he was in the mood for some fun. However, Jiraiya was able to take his money and remind him to limit his expenses. Naruto was not the least bit happy, but decided to make do as he played with the games offered. He then found out that the pervy sage had left behind his pack and decided to take a peek. Much to the blonde ninja's chagrin, the man had more money than he could ever hope to save in his lifetime, making him a bit angry that the perverted ninja saga was using his hard-earned money, but not his own. However, Naruto's money matters were about to change when he stumbled on a nearby game booth that offered quite a large sum if Naruto won the random luck of the draw. Seeing that he had nothing left to lose, Naruto gave a small part of his still remaining Ryo to the game and took the shot. And boy did he win. He got first prize at that instant and won over 50,000 Ryo. Naruto grinned happily at that and decided to lace all that money away and go about and enjoy the celebrations a bit more. He eventually stumbled onto a group of guys who were getting into a fight with another man. The blonde groaned and decided to get ready for a fight. However, he then spotted the silver hair, the kabuki-style jacket, and the big scroll and knew that the gang had attacked his companion. That was enough to stop Naruto in his tracks, and the next event was enough to make Naruto's jaw drop. As Jiraiya created a glowing sphere of pure chakra in his hand and with shocking swiftness slammed the sphere into one of the men and sent the guy flying, the other man panicked and hightailed it out of there. The blonde teen was flabbergasted by that, and Jiraiya noted that and grinned at Naruto's direction. Hey Naruto, how's the festival? What was that? Jiraiya smirked and replied. That, my dear student, is what I promised to teach you. It's the Rasengan, something I think you will have some good time learning. Jiraiya-sama. Naruto turned and spotted the women who were dressed in some really revealing clothes that resembled kimonos but were apparently meant to entice men and make them enjoy the company of women, and the women, even with the makeup they had on, were already physically pleasing to the eye. The blonde quickly turned away and Jiraiya could see that he was trying not to peek at the woman. This made the Sannin grin, and boy was he tempted to have Naruto inducted into learning just how much fun it was being with women, namely women who were very much open-minded, as well as being able to know how to pleasure a man. But he decided against it for now, as Naruto would learn in his own time. Besides, now that he had shown the Rasengan to Naruto, it was time to get to work on teaching him. Naruto, give me just an hour or two, and I'll see you at the northern section of town so we can begin the training. Back in Konoha, Fenrix looked over the documents that were handed to him. It seemed that the Konoha Council were doing their best to gain an advantage over the clan and get some level of control in it. The one named Danzo certainly made his moves on the clan, and while the old man who lost an eye and an arm was very skilled in matters of politics, the senior ascendant was no fool and countered the man's actions well enough. It galled him to know that such a war hawk was trying to get him involved in a new clan's matters, but considering all he had learned about Danzo, he was not all that surprised to say the least. There were other matters that were naturally less annoying than meeting the elders of Konoha. He had just met Hiashi, as well as Tsume and Baki. These people were speaking about having ties to the newly formed clan headed by Naruto. He looked at the documents that they presented, and while the Ascendant was familiar with Naruto's classmate Hinata, having observed her for some time, he decided to look at the documents to be a bit more familiar with the three prospective mates that his student was going to be dealing with. Hinata was already a good person by heart, he knew that much after observing her for nearly 12 years, while she was not as courageous or eager for fighting, at least not after being encouraged by Naruto to stand up for herself. She was kind-hearted, gentle-natured, as well as being able to think clearly in stressful situations. These plus her other traits meant that she would make an excellent mate for Naruto. The fact that she had an already existing affection for the blonde ninja in question was already a bonus on her part. As he looked Hinata's file over, she studied her history a bit more to be able to really know her. While he had gathered a great deal of information about the Hyuga clan, it paid to have a bit more information for better use. He also knew that Hinata possessed a good deal of chakra control, no doubt from being a Hyuga clan member and using the Byakugan. He was well aware that the Dragon Eye that Naruto would soon use was the ancestral form of the Byakugan and therefore was stronger in terms of potential, but since Hinata was able to use the Byakugan, she could help her mate perfect his own use of the Dragon Eye. Not to mention, being the heiress of the Hyuga clan made her very capable, and he had also gotten her test scores, showing that she was well gifted with intellect, something that would prove handy in helping her prospective husband in managing clan affairs. Yes, Hinata Hyuga would prove to be a worthy mate, though it will be interesting to convince Naruto to see Hinata in the way she dreamed of. He then directed his attention to the next document that had information pertaining Hana Inuzuka. The young woman was by far the eldest of the three women whose names were put forward. He was aware of the Inuzuka clan's ability to interact with their canine familiars and knew about Tsume and her son Kiba. Hana, however, seemed to be a bit different than both her mother and little brother. She was a veterinarian and also a Chuunin ranked ninja. Having her own canine familiars, she apparently was a bit more gentle-natured than her family, as well as being more patient than her hot-headed sibling, as well as laid back and loving. There was no doubt, however, that Hana was as fierce and strong as her family if they were ever threatened, as well as the village of Konoha. He had gathered the reports when she and her mother along with their canine familiars fought with the invading forces of Suna and Sound. While she was an expert in medicine, as her file suggested, she was no doubt using those said abilities to heal animals, not that it was a bad thing after all. He was also aware of her slight lack of domestic skills due to her long hours as a healer. However, that can be fixed well enough in his mind, and her already considerable resume made her a viable candidate. However, it would be better that Hana and Naruto would take time to get to know one another first in order to get better acquainted. And there was no doubt in his mind that her brother Kiba was not really liking the fact that he was going to be an in-law to Naruto considering their history before in the academy. However, time can do wonders if the two could work together. This might take a while, but this could work out, though I doubt Naruto would see it completely that way. He then looked Tamari's file over. She was the strongest of the genin from the village of Suna. She was naturally overshadowed by her youngest brother due to him carrying the Shukaku. Tamari was able to use wind in battle, and when aided by the iron fan she carried. She appeared to be exceptionally educated due to her standing as the eldest child and daughter of the late Kazekage, another trait he found to be very much needed in a newly born clan such as this one that his student was heading. She is also mentioned to be the only genin in Suna able to summon a familiar, though she had never been seen using the said familiar in action. The one in question also possessed a considerable level of chakra for one so young. There was also the fact that while she did have exceptional strength and body to carry such a weapon, as well as mental strength, she also had a kinder side to her personality despite her fierce temper and stubbornness. As far as he could see, the changes Gaara had undergone after fighting Naruto had made the relationship between them a lot more relaxed, and the two were seemingly repairing bonds with one another, something that Fenrix found to be favorable by most if not all standards. It would take time, however, for her to adapt to being with Naruto as well. At the very least, this day was not going to get the least bit boring. Another thing that Fenrix had to consider was informing Hana, Hinata, and Temari about Naruto's condition. As a Jinchuriki, it was considered needed to inform them of it so they would understand Naruto's condition more, so he could determine just how far they would be willing to go in being married to Naruto. It was not going to be easy, but it was far better this way to truly see how far they would go to be in this clan. Fenrix-sama, your tea is ready. Fenrix turned from his work to see Kin walking up to him with a small tray with a cup of tea in it. He smiled gently at the newest member of Naruto's clan, and as something of a reward for him, it had taken some time to explain the king's presence in the household. The council members, including Danzo, Hamura, and Kohen, had seen the body of Kin dead after the battle, yet here she was alive, breathing, and whole. Fenrix then explained how he had brought her back from the land of the dead, and explained that such a power exists in the Ascendants, and also in Naruto, as well. This shocked them, and it was not long before the three, namely Danzo, asked or thinly threatened him to reveal its technique and methods. However, the senior Ascendant was not frightened and replied that the only way a technique can be learned is if they have the blood of an Ascendant, as it was a very difficult process by most, if not all, ninja standards. He also replied to their veiled threat by speaking on the Uchiha matter. His smile told the three that he was well aware of something, and his next words proved it as he spoke to them privately while the others were looking at Naruto's mansion home. Flashback. You want to teach that technique? No, I will not. That is a clan secret and will remain so as well unless my clan head says otherwise. True, but the Uzumaki clan is new and therefore it is still under the supervision of the council. Just like the other clans? Including the Uchiha, before they were wiped out? Yes, it is, so such techniques must be known to the rest of the village to increase its power and ability. You mean yours? I do not think that it would be wise. After all, while the Uzumaki clan is new in its creation, it is not going to give out clan secrets. I certainly do not recall the Hyuga clan teaching others the gentle fist or the other clans teaching their techniques. Those are their own techniques and abilities, so no one else may use them. The same goes for the Uzumaki clan as well. I'm sure we can work something out for all parties involved. You are very persistent for a trio of children. You think that you can just ask and even threaten the clan just because it's new? Do not think that I am not aware of your past deals. I wonder what others will think of your actions when I tell the rest of Konoha how you three helped in the death of the Uchiha clan. What? I am well aware of what happened that night all those years ago in Konoha and how you three played a part in it by forcing one of their own to act as a spy in his own clan, how you three used his love for the peace of Konoha to turn him on his own people. I know how that one lone Uchiha was forced to slay his own kin under your orders when you decided that it was after the Kyuubi's attack that the clan should die. How did you know this? That would be telling now, would it? Make no mistake, however, I am not someone you three can threaten as easily. Ascendants like me have lived far longer than normal humans, and compared to me, you three are but children. So let me make this clear to you three: the techniques of this clan are for this clan alone. No one else can learn it unless willed so by the clan head. As long as that is understood, there will be no problems between all of us. I am merely reminding you that you should not overstep your actions here. This clan might be newly created, but it is a clan nevertheless. But it is under Konoha's sphere. I do not contest that fact, but even the council respects the Hyuga clan as a noble house, am I correct? And before the events that led to their destruction, even the Uchiha were given some semblance of autonomy in Konoha. The same is expected of this clan as well. That is your law, and if you are willing to break your own laws to get an advantage, then there is no reason for this clan to remain under your protection, does it? End of flashback. As he thought about that, his own veiled ultimatum had hit home on the three elders. He was right after all. the Uzumaki clan could choose to sever its ties to the village and relocate to a new location, and its powerful Kekkai Genkai would be lost forever to them. While Naruto was indeed loyal to his home village, Fenrix could convince him otherwise, though Fenrix had no intention of that happening just yet. He only did that as a warning, as Naruto did have that authority. The three couldn't take that chance and backed away from their moves to try and acquire the ability that Fenrix had used to bring skin back to life. However, the Ascendant knew that they were not going to give up anytime soon in their plans to get a chance foothold in the clan. He was not bothered by it and focused on the time to drink his tea. Kin smiled a bit as she handed her adopted master the cup of tea she had made. It took some time to learn how to do it, but she managed and waited to see if he liked it. "How's the tea?" Fenrix sipped and finished the drink. He looked at Kin and nodded. "Not bad, Kin. Anyway, there are some important things that we will need to discuss with Naruto. As soon as he gets back, we also need to prepare some rooms for our soon-to-come guests here in the fortress." Kin nodded at that as Fenrix placed aside the documents for the time being to work on the matters at hand. He knew that when Naruto arrived, things were going to get rather interesting. He was rather looking forward to it. Jiraiya nodded happily at Naruto's growing progress as they traveled towards the next town, as the blonde genin was currently making yet another Rasengan, and this time the blonde genin was doing it well enough to pass as a full Rasengan. He had kept his word and began to teach Naruto the basic steps of making the Rasengan. Of course, he had to explain such steps in detail. When Naruto asked him how it worked, he didn't mind, but at least Naruto was a quick study and began to quickly grasp the steps of making the Rasengan. The first step was fairly simple in terms of description, but Jiraiya knew that the first step was not as easy as one might think. Naruto had to spend hours figuring out the concept and grasp how to use it. However, his already present training in the use of elemental manipulation, as well as recalling the training that went into focusing chakra back in the academy, the blonde began to get the basics into play. That was good news for the Sannin, as the blonde genin was showing great seriousness in trying to learn. He had asked for a tip or two, but vowed to learn on his own, no doubt keeping to his promise to put all the things that he had been able to learn to the field. Jiraiya knew that the training was going to be rather humorous, as he had a number of water balloons for Naruto to break. It had taken a day for Naruto to master the first step of the making of the Rasengan, and naturally, Naruto had soaked himself several times while working out how to do the step, showing that while he could easily master the move with his already existing powers, Naruto still had difficulty in learning new, but challenges were what made a good ninja after all, and with that of the way, now was the time for Naruto to take it further. He then got Naruto to be ready for the next step, explaining that his first lesson was on the effort of rotation, and the next was going to be power. Naruto worked with the next step, and this one also took Naruto at least a full day. As well, the second step required him to try bursting rubber balls and focus on power. This took a bit longer, but the blonde genin was more than willing to take a lot longer in how to perfect the second step to learn the Rasengan. Naruto managed to complete it, but he had to have a very late dinner afterwards. However, the blonde genin had no problem. The longest part of the training came the next day, as he told Naruto how to use the two steps to master the third and last step. This time he had to make the sphere of chakra without moving the ball. Sannin had a good laugh at Naruto's expression and just how exactly he was going to do that. He explained that this step 3 was meant to create the need for stability. It had taken a day and a half for Naruto to work on it, as this proved to be a real challenge for him. However, Naruto was more than willing and ready to do what he could in order to master the third and last step. While Naruto was able to complete the rest of the steps, Jiraiya could tell that Naruto needed a bit more time. However, instead of spending a whole week, Naruto insisted on learning on the fly at the moment instead of staying in one place, saying that he could do it while they looked for Tsunade. Jiraiya was not sure if that was a good idea, but seeing that there was nothing that he could say in order to change Naruto's mind, they decided to go ahead. And it was there on the way to town that Naruto completed the Rasengan and revealed it on a nearby tree, making Jiraiya smile at his happiness at the moment. "Nicely done, Naruto, you mastered it in half a week. The Rasengan was made by the fourth, you know." "Really? I never knew that, so did you teach it to him?" "Not exactly, it was the other way around. He taught me how to do it, and it took me a bit longer than him to master it myself, so you should be proud you were able to do it in only half a week. Now you can use it to make your own variants as well." Naruto was in high spirits He was eager to show Sasuke and Sakura, as well as the others back in Konoha, how he had grown in only half a week, but he kept the idea on how to make his own variant. As they arrived in the town, Naruto decided to relax a bit, while Jiraiya looked about for the new information. He quickly found one of the men who had won a good haul from the blonde Sannin, and, as soon as he was able to know it, he sighed, as he heard how much the gamblers had taken from his former teammate. "I knew it, she's still at it yet again." It was then that shouting was heard, and when he got there, he found out that Naruto had decided to try his luck again with a gambling machine, and to the Sannin's surprise, the blonde won the jackpot, much to the collective surprise of the people there. That sight of the blonde genin winning the jackpot on the first try made Jiraiya realize that in terms of gambling luck, Naruto had the one-up over Tsunade. As they left after Naruto once more collected his winnings, they arrived to see a number of people running, as if there was something terrifying chasing them. It was then that Jiraiya asked what was going on all of a sudden. It was at that same moment that one of the men said that there had been a tremendous fight in the area and some sort of massive snake was seen in the area, as well as a blonde woman along with a dark-haired woman carrying a pig, as well as two other men with one having deeply white skin. As soon as he heard the words giant snake, as the people mentioned, Jiraiya gave a deep sigh. So Orochimaru's after Tsunade, as well, it figures. Naruto was not being dense this time. He knew that the only way a giant snake would show up was when a certain snake summoned a bastard who killed the man he considered to be a grandfather to him. He had a feeling that this was going to be a very tough mission from here on out, and he turned to face Jiraiya. "You think that the snake summoning bastard is after Tsunade? Looks like it, we'd better hurry up, the sooner we get there, then all the better. Tsunade is not someone even a jonin like Kakashi can take on, but we can't take any chances." As soon as they got there, it had taken some time, as they had no idea of the place's layout. As soon as they looked about, Jiraiya was able to see that this was indeed the work of both Tsunade and Orochimaru. There was no doubt in his mind that this discovery of Orochimaru pursuing Tsunade has just made this mission a lot more interesting and a lot more risky. In the bar. "Wait another round please." Shizune looked on with considerable worry as Tsunade drank yet another round of sake as they were resting in the bar. Tsunade was not in the best of moods due to what she had learned and the offer made by Orochimaru to bring her loved ones back to life in exchange for healing his arms. She couldn't help but feel as if all her emotions were moving around like a river in a storm. Shizune looked at Tsunade in great worry. She knew that when Tsunade got like this, there was nothing she could do in order to stop her. She tried her best to stop Tsunade from taking Orochimaru's offer. She knew just how evil the former Sannin was, and hearing that he had killed their own sensei was something that Shizune considered immoral. Yet, she couldn't help but try and find the fact that Tsunade was indeed tempted. Ever since the death of both her brother and her fiancé, her master was deeply hurt inside. She used her current appearance to not just avoid the debt collectors who hounded her, but to recall the things she had missed all because of the deaths of her loved ones. But now Orochimaru wanted to bring them to life for her in payment for healing his dead arms. Shizune, however, knew that the snake Sannin was criminal and a traitor, and she doubted that his offer didn't come with a price. The meeting between them was far from pleasant. Tsunade had just won a considerable fortune in a gambling area, but instead of being relieved like she and Taunton were at her sudden change of luck, the blonde Sannin was deeply worried and left the gambling area before she could even collect her winnings. Sure enough, Orochimaru showed up, and after a brief but showing battle, the former teammate of her master told them that he had killed their master. She knew that it got quite a reaction from Tsunade, and then the request to heal his arms of Sarutobi's in exchange for resurrecting her deceased comrades. It was also there that she was able to see that Orochimaru knew of Tsunade's weakness to seeing blood, no doubt due to the fact that they had been a team before with Jiraiya. She tried her best to let Tsunade take this course of action at that time, but even Tsunade forbade her to interfere, and it was here they were now at this point and time. It was then that two people walked in, and one of them mentioned Tsunade's name. "We can't just give up Pervy Sage. That Tsunade's got to be around here somewhere. I know that kid, but we can't do anything on an empty stomach. Besides, we can get more information in the bar, since I know also that she liked to." Tsunade looked in the direction where the voice was. She didn't recognize the first voice, but she seemed to recognize the second voice, and it was not long before the blonde Sannin looked to see none other than Jiraiya himself. The Sannin in question also looked in that direction, spotting a familiar face, and it was not long before the two Sannin spoke. "Tsunade? Jiraiya?" Naruto looked at Tsunade and had to whistle mentally to himself. So that's Tsunade. I guess the picture does do justice in this case. Later, Naruto happily munched away at the food as he and Jiraiya was sitting before Tsunade and Shizune were. It was then after finishing her drink that Tsunade spoke. All these old faces here at once, I swear. If I wasn't in a drunken mood I'd think this was a reunion party. Jiraiya poured her yet another round from the sake bottle and Naruto stopped eating his fish and he looked at the two as he already had an idea on who Tsunade was referring to as he knew the three Sannin and since there was one more. So Orochimaru's here too. What exactly happened here? Shizune was about to speak, but Tsunade gave her a warning glare. However, Naruto and Jiraiya were already aware of what was going on. Jiraiya had a sneaking thought as to what Orochimaru was up to, and Naruto also had a feeling that the snake bastard wanted something from Tsunade. The blonde continued to eat, but a part of his mind was already at work. His training under Fenrix had made him a little bit harder to catch off guard as well. Nothing, just catching up on old times. Jiraiya knew better. He had seen the look Tsunade gave Shizune, a warning look. That look from Tsunade to Shizune easily told him that Orochimaru had far more interesting things to talk about at Tsunade than reminiscing about the past. That told him that he had to hurry before things got even worse. The reason I got here is the fact that the village council had sent a request that you become the 5th Hokage. Naruto knew about it firsthand before back in Konoha, so he ignored it and continued eating while Shizune was shocked and Tsunade was stunned slightly by the announcement. Jiraiya was about to say that the third was dead, but Tsunade beat him to it. I know that the third Orochimaru told me himself that he killed Sarutobi-sensei. Naruto was shocked by this as he stopped eating and then looked at Tsunade. He found her impassive response angering and made that point clear when he spoke to her. And you just stood there as he said that? You did nothing to at least kill that traitorous bastard who tried to destroy your home village and killed your sensei? You had a chance, but never took it. Why is that? Tsunade turned and looked at Naruto, wondering why he seemed somewhat familiar to her somehow, as if she had seen him before, despite the rather off looks that he had. Not that they were ugly or anything, but just a bit off for someone so young. Who's the loudmouth Jiraiya? You know him well enough, Tsunade, even though you two never officially met. He's Naruto Uzumaki. So he's the Kyuubi container. I never. He'd look more like a young adult than an adolescent. So what's your answer, Tsunade? What you're asking me is impossible, Jiraiya. I decline. This is not looking good. Funny you should say that, of all things, Tsunade. That was the exact same phrase you said when I asked you out a long time ago. Hey pervy sage, we're supposed to be asking her to come back to the village and heal Sasuke, Kakashi-sensei, and even bushy brows Lee, and to be Hokage, not going on a date of all things, and she already said no. I'm aware of that, Naruto, but don't forget I'm not cut out to be Hokage. Tsunade's own grandfather was the first Hokage, and like I said, she's got the abilities and intellect to be a better Hokage. Plus she is not a Sannin for nothing. Her battle skills were legendary and her healing skills were unmatched, and she still has them. I'm aware of that, pervy sage. You told me on the road, remember? Jiraiya, this young kid accompanying you is a lot louder and more different than your last apprentice. Normally I'd take that as a compliment, but I get the feeling it's more of a joke than an old lady compliment. Well, it's tough being compared to the fourth. He had the talent, the skills, the looks, and the compassion to go with it all. He was a genius and the best Hokage the village had then. But he died young, didn't he? Jiraiya looked on silently, and so did Naruto, as Tsunade continued to speak. He gave up his life for his village. Life is not the same thing as money. You can get money back, but a life is one-time thing. You can never gamble it or win it back. Anyone who throws his life away was a fool. Naruto gritted his teeth in growing anger as Tsunade spoke onwards. My grandfather and my granduncle focused so much on making the village peaceful and prosperous, but in the end they died in the middle of their dreams. They lost everything and ended up dead. I'm surprised at that way of seeing things, Tsunade. You have changed a lot, and you've said all you've thought and had on your mind. I'm already 50 years old, and Jiraiya, like you, can do that to people. It's no wonder Sarutobi-sensei died. He was already too old to live his dreams. Jiraiya glared at Tsunade and wondered just what made her like this, though a part of him already had a clear idea of what happened to her long ago. The title of Hokage is a foolish and worthless thing. Anyone who wants it will be nothing but a fool. I've heard enough. Naruto rushed up and was about to draw out his sword staff when Jiraiya stopped him. Keep your temper cool, Naruto, we're in a public place for Kami's sake. I don't care about that even if we suddenly find ourselves in the middle of a scorching hot desert in our birthday suits at this very moment, pervy sage. I am not going to stand by and let this old hag insult the fourth and all the Hokages and the title. Naruto glared darkly at Tsunade's smirking face, and he cracked his knuckles and looked even more enraged while Jiraiya and Shizune looked on. He could feel his Dragon King blood. You had the audacity to not only insult the third, who was among the very few people I ever cared about and respected, the man who was like a grandfather to me, but your own grandfather, the first Hokage, and even the fourth. I don't know what kind of incident in your life made you in a cold and heartless ice woman, old lady, but if you think you're going to get away with those remarks, you're dead wrong. For all those who died living their dreams, I'll make sure to rip that smirk off your face with my bare hands, even if you are a woman. Tsunade stood up and glared back with a smile. Oh yeah? You've got guts and gall to be saying such things in my face, kid. Then let's take this outside. Outside? Tsunade expected this fight to be fairly direct as well as easy, and she decided to make Naruto react first to finish it. However, the very second she struck him on the forehead of his forehead protector and sent him back, she was surprised that instead of flying back, the blonde loudmouth was only sent back a few feet and without lasting harm. Jiraiya looked on and replied, "This just got interesting." Tsunade looked on with some considerable surprise as the blonde young man before her managed to get himself up without any trouble and began to creak his neck. Naruto was surprised at the strength that Tsunade possessed, but he was not going to back down as he cracked his knuckles and replied, "Not bad, you old hag. You've got some strength, now let's see you match up to an Descendant." Tsunade barely had enough time to react as Naruto punched his open hand into the ground and literally ripped a chunk of the earth right out of the ground, and there before her was the blonde genin carrying a sphere of earth the size of a building roof. The blonde Sannin had never seen anyone do that by using chakra-enhanced strength before. Just how was this young kid doing it? Jiraiya had to admit that getting Naruto riled was a bad idea. Even with the bracers on him, Naruto's strength was more than able to match Tsunade's in combat as the blonde genin tossed the massive rock as Tsunade, his former teammate, was forced to shatter the stone to avoid it hitting her. However, he knew that Naruto was far from done with his attacks. Shizune was surprised at this as she never expected that there was someone who could match her sensei in the area of powerful strength, but this young man was proving to be able to match her right before her eyes. How can someone like him have that level of strength? The blonde Sannin managed to avoid the next blow from Naruto as the blonde genin attacked her with a powerful straight-up punch. She managed to parry the move but was surprised at the sheer force behind it. The strength this kid had was comparable or higher than her own chakra-enhanced strength. That told her that being hit by this guy was asking for trouble. Naruto and Tsunade began trading blows, and the blonde Sannin found herself fighting someone who was not only able to fight in par with her in terms of physical strength, but can take a serious beating too, as she was forced to use her full strength. She lashed out with a fierce straight punch and hit Naruto in the chest. A normal person would have died from the impact, but Naruto was only pushed back a foot or so, and he shrugged the blow off and growled at Tsunade and lashed out with a straight kick that she avoided, but then heard a tearing sound, and then she glanced at her pants to see that, while the blow missed, Naruto unleashed enough force to cut the cloth and come close to tearing her skin. The two looked at one another, and Naruto growled, allowing his energy to flow into his body at that moment, and then he allowed his Kekkai Genkai to awaken once more at full force. Dragon King blood. Release. Wind. The others watched as Naruto's body was covered in glowing tattoos, and, as soon as that was over, Naruto gathered a massive amount of wind to him and unleashed a powerful blast of heavily focused air pressure that forced Tsunade to evade as a tearing sound was heard, and a massive trench was made where she had been standing before, much to her surprise, as the blonde genin grinned back as he prepared to use the Rasengan and made the move. The blonde Sannin recognized it but was surprised that Naruto was able to do it with one hand while using wind at the same time with a spear of pure air made in his other hand, showing that Naruto's training was paying off greatly and his growing powers also added power to it all. But that was then that Jiraiya stopped the fight before it could get ugly, but stepped and forced Naruto to stop his attack before things got ugly. "Alright, that's enough, you two. Naruto, keep your cool and deactivate those powers of yours." "But do it, Naruto. We can't force Tsunade to join us, so we should at least give her a week to decide this for herself. Naruto saw that Jiraiya was serious and did so, allowing his tattoos to fade away and also his Rasengan, but he looked at Tsunade once more and moved away, but not without saying that he was going to go back to the hotel. But not before he spoke to Tsunade. "You old hag, you spat at the names of all the people who gave their very lives to keep the village safe. Those people who made the ultimate choice to lose their lives to make sure that the peace of the village would remain and grow to full strength. I don't know why you are like this, the granddaughter of the first Hokage no less, but if those people who gave their lives were to be alive and heard you mock not just the title of Hokage, but the sacrifices of all involved, as well as their own, even your own sensei, they would consider never forgiving you if you ever helped that snake-summoning bastard to destroy the village they gave their lives to protect. And considering all I heard from you, you don't ever deserve to protect those dreams since you dare to mock them." With that, Naruto quickly created another Rasengan and smashed it hard into the stone wall nearby. He was unaware, however, that the meaning of his words had an effect on the blonde Sannin. She shook her head and looked at the retreating form of the still irate Konoha Genin, and Dragon Ascendant Tsunade then decided to turn and face the white-haired Sannin, who shook his head at his student with a slight grin. As soon as that was done, she spoke to her former teammate. "We need to talk." Jiraiya nodded at that, and the two headed off, while Tsunade's assistant Shizune and Taunton decided to follow Naruto. She knew that she had to tell Naruto the truth about what was going on and why Tsunade was the way she was at the moment. In the small bar. "You haven't changed much, Tsunade, still as beautiful as ever." Tsunade snorted a bit at that as she and Jiraiya began to drink again in a nearby open night bar. The blonde Sannin was still trying to digest what was going on here. As far as her memory went, the blonde kid that accompanied Jiraiya didn't have that level of power, but until she could get her head sorted out, she decided to play along. "And you haven't changed much either, Jiraiya. You realize that you're the one man I don't plan on dating, and besides that, we're the same age, right?" "I know, besides, younger women are more my thing anyway." As the two drank their sake, Jiraiya then dropped the bomb. "So Tsunade, are you planning to meet Orochimaru at the end of the week?" Tsunade was unhappy with that and wondered just where he had figured all of that out. Jiraiya noted that look in her face and replied, "I saw the handiwork you guys left earlier, and I met some people who said something about a giant snake. And considering that you mentioned meeting him, I assume that he wants you to heal his arms, and like me, he offered something in return. I'm not as dense as some might think, Tsunade, including you." Damn it. Jiraiya could tell that this was a tough time for his teammate, and from what he had been gathering on his former teammate ever since he left the village, there was no doubt that Orochimaru had planned something to tempt Tsunade into siding with him to heal his arms. "You realize that you are going to be helping him destroy all the things that the Hokage had built ever since the founding of Konoha. If you heal his arms, Konoha is more than the buildings and monuments there. It's the people, their hopes, dreams, beliefs, and more for the future. The Hokages of the past, including your grandfather and granduncle, our sensei, and my own student, gave everything to help ensure that the happiness, security, hopes, and dreams of the people of Konoha would survive and prosper even in the darkest of times. Yes, they died, but they died knowing that they protected not the buildings of Konoha, but the people who lived in it. If you decide to help Orochimaru, then all they have done up to this moment will all be for nothing." Jiraiya looked at Tsunade seriously. "You and I both know that Orochimaru hates Konoha, so you can have no doubt that he will destroy it and kill all those people there just to test his power. I can't imagine that someone like you would be willing to allow that to happen and also help in making it happen, but Kami helps me, because if I do find out about you helping him, I will kill you, Tsunade." Tsunade could see that Jiraiya meant those words, and she stared back. "That has nothing to do with me." Jiraiya sighed at that and replied, "That is wrong. You cared for the village once, Tsunade. You loved it with all you had for their sakes. Stop it. Listen, I know about why you left the village. I know I cannot grasp how you felt when Iwaki and Dan died, and that was what drove you to leave Konoha. But helping Orochimaru will do nothing more than destroy it all, everything that they." Jiraiya stopped it. "You think I don't know how it feels? Every day, ever since I left, I wondered what I should have done to save them. I had to watch the corpse of my brother in the morgue. I couldn't recognize him. He was so young, so eager, so full of light, and now he was gone from my life only half a day after his birthday, and then I watched Dan die, and I couldn't save him. I, the greatest medic nin in Konoha, couldn't even save the man I wanted to marry. Jiraiya knew that this was very touchy territory for Tsunade, as well as himself. The blonde Sannin then spoke about another subject, Naruto. "That kid, why did you bring him? What do you mean? He's such a loudmouth saying those things. He struck a nerve, didn't he?" Tsunade said nothing, but Jiraiya could tell that Naruto's words before had hit Tsunade hard. She might be a tough and stubborn woman, but the way Naruto said those words, that she was demeaning the deaths of everyone who fought to keep Konoha safe, and saying that, if she ever helped Orochimaru, the people who died in keeping Konoha safe would never forgive her for betraying their dreams for the village had struck her hard. The reason was that, what Naruto said naturally included Dan and Nawaki as well. Both of them had bright hopes and dreams for Konoha in their lives, and they died for those dreams. If she did what Orochimaru wanted, then she would betray them completely. Jiraiya sighed and replied. At least he was honest about it. Anyway, I guess being the head of a new clan and wielding a powerful gift makes him a lot different than before. What was that? Jiraiya filled Tsunade in on the details that he was able to gather about Naruto's newfound powers, explaining how he was able to stand up to her, as well as learn the Rasengan in a shorter time frame, as well as his current standing as head of his own clan despite his age. Suffice to say, Tsunade was shocked by the implications of it all, and, as soon as that was done, she looked at her glass and wondered just what was Naruto doing at this moment. Naruto, in his case, was currently being told by Shizune about what had happened, and while his anger towards Tsunade's callousness had not softened, his understanding of her situation increased at least. Shizune hoped that her explanations would help ease Naruto's harsh treatment of her sensei, and it seemed to work. Naruto then decided to spend his time training once more, this time with a special surprise in store for not just the blonde Sannin and his own sensei, but the snake summoning bastard himself. It was also at this moment that Tsunade succeeded in slipping a special drug into Jiraiya's drink, hoping that it was going to be enough for what she had in mind. A week later. Damn it, I should have known she'd try something like this to keep us away from this fight. Jiraiya felt like he had been fed a serious dose of sleeping pills, as well as some seriously strong drink at the very same time. In this case, he was unable to move and focus his chakra. The drug had also helped in making him sleep for nearly a week. Tsunade made the drug especially for him, in order to keep him from interfering in her plans. As soon as he worked up, he managed to get some food to help build up his strength, just as Naruto had finished his own training in his own time, having thought that the pervy sage had drunk himself to the point of being. Now they had been told the whole story of what exactly happened between Tsunade and Orochimaru by Shizune. It galled Jiraiya that Orochimaru was using Dan and Nawaki to bite Tsunade's help. He knew how tempting such an offer was to Tsunade and would be too powerful for her to resist, as both men were truly important to her, and this made the whole thing even harder to deal with. We have to hurry. Tsunade-sama is in danger. They know her fear of blood and might use it on her. Naruto and Jiraiya knew that to be true, and the trio, supported by Taunton, located Tsunade. They were surprised to see a trail of destruction going out of town, and that told them that something had happened, and considering that Orochimaru's smell was being followed by Tsunade's smell away from the scene, told them something good. Shizune had filled them in on Orochimaru's companion, who appeared to be very skilled. The description matched that of Kabuto, and while Naruto was confused at first, he quickly decided to see for himself if it was true that Kabuto might be working for Orochimaru. If he was going to deal with him personally. Outside of town. Tsunade groaned a bit as she tried to get her energy back after chasing Orochimaru and Kabuto. She had made her decision only days before and vowed to end Orochimaru herself. While it seemed that she had agreed with Orochimaru's plans, as well as accepting his promise to not harm Konoha, she had other plans. She knew that Jiraiya was right, and she knew that, as well, there was no way Orochimaru would ever agree to leaving Konoha alone, and he would also use Dan and Nawaki to control her. Besides, that blonde was right. If she did agree to it, she was betraying Dan and Nawaki in the most brutal and most insidious way possible, and despite her desire to see Dan and Nawaki again, she knew that they could never forgive her for doing not just allowing Orochimaru to bring them back from the dead in the same way he had done to her grandfather and granduncle, but also destroying the village they had given their lives to keep safe. She had tried to kill Orochimaru using a special that had killing intent, but the young man named Kabuto revealed his own skill as a medic nin and stopped her, leading to the battle outside. She was getting tired, and Orochimaru taunted her while Kabuto fought her. She had to admit that the young man was good, even more than her in terms of skill and medical know-how, when she was at her own height. But that hardly stopped her, and she had come close to finishing him off, but that was when he used her fear of blood on her by slitting his wrists and allowing the blood to cripple her. Kabuto attacked fiercely to even up the score, hitting the blonde Sannin fast and hard and as best he could, but as he attacked once more, it was then that a massive gout of flame came at him and forced him away from Tsunade. He turned, and there was Naruto, as well as Jiraiya and Tsunade. Kabuto moved away and smiled at Naruto as the blonde genin glared at him. "So Naruto-kun, you arrived." Naruto's vision, boosted by the Dragon King blood in his veins, had allowed him to see Kabuto attacking a helpless Tsunade, and that called him deeply. Not only that the man he thought a friend was a sound spy, but attacking Tsunade the way she was right now. He looked to see Jiraiya still uneasy on his feet, no doubt from the drug used on him by Tsunade, and Shizune trying to help her sensei out of her state. "So, you are indeed a spy. I tried to discount that, but I saw you attack Tsunade and the sound forehead protector as well. I am going to beat you to a bloody pulp." Kabuto decided to goad Naruto as Orochimaru looked on. "How do you plan to do that? You are alone at the moment, and I am not a genin in reality. I even know how to kill Anbu, you know?" Naruto, however, growled and replied. "Maybe you have killed Anbu, but have you ever killed a dragon ascendant in combat? Especially since the one in question has the blood of a dragon king flowing in his veins?" Kabuto had no idea what that was about, but he was going to get his answer soon enough as Naruto used his Dragon King blood once more. Dragon King blood. Release. Lightning. The tattoos came back to life, and now Naruto attacked Kabuto. The medic nin knew that attacking Naruto directly was going to be out of the question, and he used his arsenal to even up the odds. Naruto, however, was not going to make it the least bit easy as he unleashed waves as well as bolts of lightning at Kabuto. It was also when Kabuto, as well as Orochimaru, were able to learn just how deadly Naruto was in close combat when he revealed his strength in shattering a nearby boulder with a straight punch. That surprised Kabuto as Naruto replicated the same strength as Tsunade, but in a much faster form, as he barely evaded an attack to his side, and he heard the tearing of cloth, seeing that while he had indeed evaded that attack, the attack had enough force to tear through his clothes and even his flesh. That was when Naruto unleashed a field of pure lightning around himself that rapidly expanded. Kabuto managed to evade the wave, but had his foot hit by the lightning, and that slowed him down, and Naruto was quick to capitalize on that as he sent a powerful uppercut to Kabuto, sending the man flying backwards. Kabuto felt like he had been hit on the jaw by a massive hammer, and it was only through his knowledge of medicine that he got his body back from both the blows of the lightning and the blow from the blonde genin along with his other abilities. However, he spat out a small amount of blood from the blow and spoke to the blonde genin. "Not bad, Naruto-kun, I never expected that. Quit talking and start fighting." Naruto charged at Kabuto, but that was when Kabuto made his move, and suddenly Naruto hit only the ground with his fist, and Kabuto vanished. The blonde looked about to find his quarry and deal with him. It was then that he decided to summon his dragon eye. Kabuto grinned as he lashed outward. He expected his chakra scalpel to cut down Naruto, and with him hidden with the Misegakure no Jutsu, he had the advantage, as there was no way that Naruto could see him, as only those with either the Sharingan or Byakugan could see it. He was proven wrong, as Naruto suddenly turned and landed a powerful backhand to send him flying backwards. The personal medic nin of Orochimaru was surprised by this and looked at Naruto. "How did Naruto-kun see me?" He got his answer as Naruto revealed his face, and there was the dragon eye staring right at Kabuto. The medic nin was surprised. It resembled the Sharingan, but it was not at the same time. The blonde growled and charged at Kabuto, unleashing a hail of blows that forced him on the defensive. He had not expected this from Naruto, as his records containing information on Naruto had no mention of this ability of his. Kabuto wondered just what was going on at the moment as he tried his chakra scalpel yet again to attack Naruto. The attack came for Naruto's arm, but suddenly Naruto evaded the strike, and to Kabuto's shock, Naruto created a chakra scalpel of his own, except this one was made from pure lightning, and Kabuto was hit by it at the leg. The attack literally sent waves of deadly force into Kabuto as the lightning short-circuited his nervous system, as well as fry him deeply. The attack also rendered him unable to move, much to Naruto's enjoyment, as he had every intention of destroying the man. Naruto roared and then unleashed a number of powerful attacks on Kabuto, and one could hear the result as he felt the medic nin's bones break, and then he quickly knocked Kabuto back from him and then decided that now was the time to deal with the pest. He summoned his powers once more as he focused his dragon eyes at Kabuto, looking into the man, and spotted the exact spot he needed to hit. Dragon King blood release. Fire. Kabuto managed to get his body back in order, but that was not enough as Naruto attacked him with a powerful kick, and, as he was forced back, Naruto spoke. "Here's something you are going to like, you bastard. The pervy sage taught me a new technique, but you know what? I have just discovered a new thing for myself." Naruto raised his hands and then created both spheres of chakra, two perfected Rasengan at the same time, making Tsunade gap in surprise, as well as Shizune. Jiraiya smirked at that, while Orochimaru saw it happen before him with a look of surprise. However, they were going to bring an even bigger surprise as Naruto suddenly focused his energy and the tattoos glowed once more in fiery red. Here it is, my personal variant of the Rasengan dual Inferno Rasengan. Everyone watched as the two Rasengan were suddenly turning fiery red, and sure enough, the two Rasengan began to be covered in deep flames. It seemed that when Naruto chose to use a particular element, when using his Dragon King blood, he could easily change his elemental affinity and therefore have an effect on the Rasengan, as the massive burning spheres were unleashing massive amounts of flame around itself. Jiraiya was impressed. He knew that it took half a week for Naruto to figure out how to make the perfect Rasengan, and another half a week to create two Rasengan at once. He had decided to keep the technique a secret from Tsunade as a surprise. However, while he could use his own fire chakra to cover the Rasengan he could create in the same fashion as Naruto could, he had never attempted to do that with two Rasengan at once. Nice, looks like teaching him that was a good move after all. Tsunade looked on with shock at this, knowing that Naruto had taken only half a week to learn the Rasengan from Jiraiya, and now it seemed that he could use both hands to create two Rasengan at the very same time. But now it seemed that the blonde kid could combine his elemental chakra to create a more powerful Rasengan. It was even more shocking to see Naruto use two Rasengan at the same time. Incredible. Making one Rasengan took 3 years for the fourth, but in half a week, Naruto was able to make one, and now he could make two Rasengan and now combine it with fire chakra in 1 week. This is unprecedented. Orochimaru was utterly shocked at the sight before him. Kabuto himself barely had time to react when Naruto closed the gap at high speed and then smashed both burning Rasengan into him. The personal medic nin of Orochimaru barely had time to ready his body for the impact and managed to survive, but he was blown literally 100 or more feet back, and the entire area that made the trench before him was incinerated in fire. As the damage cleared, Naruto looked to see that Kabuto was still alive, though barely. The man smirked as he got up despite the fact that his clothes were badly burned and he was still smoking in some areas. "Not bad, Naruto-kun, but I am not out yet." Naruto could see that as the body cells in Kabuto's body began to heal, and he spoke to Kabuto. "So, you can regenerate dead or dying body cells, eh?" "That's right, that's why I serve as Orochimaru-sama's right hand. You might be able to heal, but my dragon eye allowed me to hit you right there, where I can do the most damage, and while you're healing I can see that you nearly used up all your chakra to do it." Naruto was right, as Kabuto suddenly fell to the ground as he was writhing in pain. The combined Rasengan attack with fire surrounding both chakra spheres had nearly killed him, as he had nearly run out of chakra to heal all those heavy injuries that he had suffered. Naruto then decided to focus his attention directly at Orochimaru, and this time the blonde genin took out his sword staff, extending both blades outward from the handle, and the blonde charged right at the man, riding a bolt of lightning right at Orochimaru. The Sannin had no time to react, and it was then that they were face to face. Orochimaru was stunned to see the changes in Naruto's eyes as he did his best to avoid the powerful attacks of the now enraged dragon Descendant. The snake summoning Sannin couldn't help but be shocked at the sight of Naruto's now transformed eyes. They resembled the Sharingan, but unlike the Sharingan, there were 5 Tamo there that he was unable to recognize. The slit was there, and instead of being red, the eyes were still blue, yet radiated power. The eyes of the blonde ninja wielding the double sword staff sent chills down his spine as he moved away at that moment, something that he had never felt before in his many years as a ninja. Orochimaru managed to remain focused on the battle as he evaded Naruto's attacks, and he then decided that maybe he could get the advantage by goading Naruto into making a mistake. "You are strong, Naruto-kun, but not yet enough to beat me or surpass Sasuke-kun. Why don't you stop talking and start fighting?" Orochimaru then replied. As he managed to land a kick at Naruto, it felt like hitting a wall, but the snake Sannin unleashed a sword from his mouth at Naruto. The blonde grabbed it with his free and crushed the sword that turned into a snake. "Do you intend to kill me for killing my former sensei?" He was old and weak. To think he would be Hokage again after he should have retired. Naruto roared out in even greater anger at that insult to Sarutobi's memory as he unleashed a massive gout of fire right at Orochimaru point blank. Die. Thanks for watching my video. Leave a like if you enjoyed my video and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. If you want the next part of this story, let me know in the comment box. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.